Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Bullpen Blues. As always, I'm your co-host, Kevin Dixon, joined by the newest resident of H-Town, Mr. David Esser. David, how'd the move go, man? What's been going on?
Kevin, thanks for asking. It's been a couple of days. A lot of baseball has passed, but I did in fact move across the country. I'm in Houston, Texas. It has been raining ever since I got here, which is not what I was expecting, moving from Maryland to Texas. But we're here. We're thriving. That's where we're at.
It's great to hear, man. Definitely been thinking of you. Glad that you're settled in. We're able to get back on the mic, talk some Phillies baseball. It was a weird week. Definitely a weird week. I can't believe that we were just talking about it off the air. I can't believe they didn't play yesterday. It must have been really bad in Ohio for them to call a 12:30 game on getaway day where the Phillies were off today. Cincinnati went to St. Louis. It must have been really bad if they couldn't get a game in, you know?
Yeah, and normally it feels like we as Phillies fans are grateful when an impromptu off day rolls around because we're like, oh, it gives us a chance to rest the bullpen. JT gets an off day, whatever. Kevin, this was not a day where we wanted an off day.
No.
They were coming off their best win of the season, best win in quite some time.
Quite some time, yeah. I mean, they scored a ton of runs.
The best offensive performance all season. They put up 17. They were cruising. They were looking to get a very rare road series win on Wednesday. It got rained out. They had back-to-back off days before their series with Washington. But yeah, Kevin, I think you put it well. It was just a weird week, just a weird one.
Yeah, two clunkers in Tampa, Tampa. They're not in Dunedin. That's Toronto. Two clunkers. Then they go to Cincy and they got their heads kicked in on Monday. That was embarrassing. It was nice to see them rebound the next day, but there's just too many of those Monday games, man. Like games like Monday, there's just too many clunkers with this team. As I have it up on the screen now, there's 26 and 29. Very uninspiring baseball. And that's coming from me, one of the more positive fans. I at least like to pride myself on that. This team's not very good. I can admit that. Yeah, they're not a very good ball club. They have no depth, absolutely no depth. The heel turn is here. I've completely shifted my narrative. I've been one saying, let's hold on. No way. This is what year number 4, 18, 19, 20, 21. It's the same product. This team can't win the way they're constructed. I even tweeted out recently, would I rather this team win 7 in a row or lose 7 in a row? It might be more beneficial if they drop 7 in a row, David, because then they can wake the hell up and be like, all right, major overhaul of this roster needs to be done. Gene Segura can be a piece to trade. Odubel Herrera, Archie Bradley, Neris. There's guys on this roster they can look to move because let's face it, this team is not winning the division. They're not winning the World Series the way they're currently constructed. And they're just wasting Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto and Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler at his peak right now. They're just wasting these guys, David.
Yeah, hey, let it all out, brother.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for
Man, it's so frustrating. It's been holding it in for too long. And that brings me to something I wanted to ask you, and I'll pop it up here on the screen. Would a sweep change your outlook on the Phillies? And I'm going to give my definitive answer here. Absolutely not.
Grand picture, zooming out and looking at this thing, a 3-game sweep in early June wouldn't change my
they would
outlook.
be 29 and 29. Like, what are we celebrating? It's not April where I'm like, it's early. We're 55 games in now, David. We're getting past the point of like, this is who they are. This is who they are at this point. Because you know what would happen? They'll sweep this weekend and then they'll drop 3 or 4 or they'll get swept next week. And we'll be right back where we are because that's where we've been for the last 4 years.
Yeah, and a lot of talk has been about the division, right? And look, I really want to win the division. I want to put up a pennant. I want to celebrate that. But again, you zoom out, you look at the Dodgers and the Giants and the Padres and the Cardinals. Although the Phillies have actually played the Cardinals rather well this year, but you zoom out and you look big picture, and you're like, all right, can this team really compete with some of these juggernauts around baseball? And look, you get to the postseason, you never know what's going to happen.
I stand by what I said last week. If they get there, I mean, with the top 3 arms in their rotation, they're probably not a team you'd want to play. It doesn't mean that they're a good baseball team.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And this was, kind of where I was at probably a few weeks earlier than you. I hate that I'm like, I don't want to say I'm right, but I hate that that's the direction we're trending in because I want this team to be good. And again, we watch a game like Tuesday and we see these flashes of just brilliance from so many different people. Odubel Herrera hitting 2 home runs, getting production out of a bench piece in Ronald Torreyes. Andrew McCutchen looked like prime Andrew McCutchen, just hitting bombs left and right. Reese Hoskins has been really good as of late. And I look at this, I'm like, dang, that's a baseball team. I'm like, they're doing this without Didi. They're doing this without Bryce Harper. Aaron Nola's kind of in a funk right now. Their bullpen's still not complete. Their bench is still not complete. I see the pieces. And you're right. They're going to go sweep Washington this weekend. And then they're going to drop 2 or 3 to Atlanta. And they're going to drop 2 or 3 to the Yankees. And they're going to get swept by the Dodgers. And we're going to be sitting there just like, it's not changing. I've yet to be convinced that this team can put together more than, 2 games at a time of really productive baseball. Endless cycle where they're right and then they'll drop. And then they'll climb back up and they'll drop. And it's just endless. Just mediocrity is pretty much the best way to put it.
I think what has really shown is, and we've talked about this on previous episodes, so I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but like we're not leaning on the injury argument because everybody in the division is going through the injuries. The Phillies just do not have the depth to be able to survive going weeks at a time without the meat of their order, David. I mean, we had a game recently where Reese Hoskins was 3rd and Odubel was 4th. That was their 3-4 hitters. Like, they don't have the pieces to be able to survive longevity without their guys. I mean, they've been without Bryce Harper now for, what is it, a couple of weeks now. He really hasn't been the same since he got hit in the face at the end of April. They went a couple of weeks without Real Muto. Didi Gregorius might be done for the year, David. We have not heard any type of positive news coming out of that camp. He's not even really throwing the baseball right now. I think he's on the road to Tommy John surgery, and that's pure speculation, but that's really, really what it seems. And they just dumped $14 million a year into him. They just cannot catch a break with this. I don't really know what to say because we devote so much time and effort to this team, and it's just so frustrating being let down week after week after week and just trying to convince ourselves, oh, no, they're close. They'll get Bryce back, and we're going to win 6 out of 8. And then it'll be great. We'll be 1 game under 500 at that point. It's just it's so frustrating, man.
Yeah, you bring up the injury argument, which you see tossed around quite a bit, and just wait till Bryce gets back, wait till Didi gets back. And then, you look around baseball and the Dodgers injured for the entire first month. The Mets,
they don't have a receiver right now.
They missed Jacob deGrom for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The injuries happen in baseball. And I remember we had this conversation after the opening series where we're like, this is not just a matter of the top 3 in the rotation being good and Harper being great and JT being special. It's top to bottom. It's the entire organization all the way to single A. Where, look, guys are going to be called up. They're going to lean on their depth. There's nothing there. And, bless the gods, the baseball gods, that we've gotten some production out of Ronald Torreyes the last couple of games.
Yes,
because they'd be in a really bad spot if he wasn't playing well. And Odubel, that was another guy who the organization did not expect to be their starting center fielder, and yet here he is, and he's been one of their best players this season. So yeah, the depth is a huge issue. The injury obviously an issue, but it's more so like, all right, the injuries happen. Injuries happen in sports. They happen in professional sports. Who's going to step up? And we've seen it. Again, 4 years in a row, they just don't have enough bodies down in the minor leagues to fill any sort of injury hole at any point. I mean, I can't even imagine what would happen if Aaron Nola had to miss a few starts. The team would just completely collapse, or if Zach Wheeler had to miss starts. They have no one behind those guys.
You hit the nail on the head, man. And we got it up on the screen here. Like, where do we go now? The Phillies are find themselves at a legitimate crossroads here, David, because they have a ton of money set to come off the books at the end of 2021. So it's not as if they need to completely rebuild You know, like we've talked about here, like the top pieces are there. And I read an article today from The Good Fight. Leo Morgenstein, I believe, wrote it, saying, don't give up on this team yet. And look, I've been preaching that for a while. I think we're at the point where we can kind of be like, this team is not a legitimate contender. What else do we need to see? Seriously, like, what else do we need to see? And like I get it, like people want to hang on and they want to hold on and be hopeful, but like David, they haven't had a winning record since 2011. 10 years. It's the same thing we see with the Flyers. As you know, I'm very plugged in with the Flyers as well. These fans just love these players that were homegrown here. They're Philly guys who haven't achieved anything. What are we holding on to these guys for? Like, do we just want to continue to be a 500 ball club? Like, everybody loves Knapp. Everybody loves Hoskins. I guess Nola, even though he's damn good. Hector Neris. Like, these guys haven't achieved anything. And nobody wants to part ways with them. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and it's a weird situation because in a vacuum, some of these players are having really good season. I mean, you bring up Hoskins, we talked about, his potential availability for quite some time. I was looking at the MLB All-Star voting, and amongst first basemen who they have pulled up, for the National League, Rhys Hoskins has the second highest OPS behind Max Muncy. And you look at that and you're like, wow, like he's really good. He's having a great year. And by all accounts and measures, he's having a great year. Hector Neris is having the best season of his career thus far. But Gene Segura is batting over 300. And for whatever reason, it's not clicking. And I don't know why. I'm not a baseball executive. I'm not a general manager. I'm not a scout. But for whatever reason, it's not clicking. And I point to the 76ers as an example quite frequently because I felt like they were in a similar situation where they knew who their core guys were, but the pieces around weren't great. The Al Horfords, the Josh Richardsons, the Raul Netos off the bench, like it just wasn't working. And you could have made an argument. You bring in a new coach and a new executive. You make these pieces work. Sometimes it just doesn't work. And I don't know who's all going to be moved. I'm confident Dave Dombrowski is going to make some big moves. Maybe it's getting rid of a Gene Segura. Maybe it's completely retooling the starting rotation or the bullpen, or maybe it's trading a giant piece like an Alec Boehm or a Didi Gregorius, or maybe even a Rhys Hoskins. I don't know. I don't know what the move is, but I know moves have to come because even if this team gets hot and Harper comes back healthy and Didi comes back healthy and they patch up the bullpen and maybe they grab a fourth or a fifth starter, I still look around. I'm like, there's just no way they can keep up with the Padres on the track they're going, or the Dodgers who just churn out elite prospect after elite prospect, or even the San Francisco Giants who, when they're allowed to spend some money this offseason, they're going to be looking scary.
Yeah, because they're going to land one of the big names. They're perennially they're going to spend money. But I'll tell you this: I'm sitting here, I'm bitching and moaning about the Phillies. What else is new? Aside from me, changing my complete total narrative here. But I'll tell you what, they win 7 out of 8. I'm going to be like, all right, we're 2.5 games back. Let's go. So look, I'm not at the point where I can't be swayed back, but I've just lost all hope of. It's just like I've seen this movie before. I know how it ends. I know where we're going. So I hope I'm wrong. It's the same thing when we're critical of players. And like you brought up Rhys Hoskins, he's been very good this year. And, he's had his moments where he's really struggled. As someone who's always been very hard on him, I got to tip my cap. He's been good. But at the same time, like people don't want to criticize him. People don't want to criticize Andrew Knapp. People don't want to criticize Hector Neris. It's just crazy to me. Like you're allowed to be critical of these guys and still root for them. Like I don't know. Like it's not one way or the other, man. Like I can say Rhys Hoskins needs to hit more home runs, or he needs to hit the ball more, just in general, and he's done that this year. I can say Hector Neris needs to be better in late inning situations. It's perfectly fine to say that. Like Alec Boehm, still have a lot of hope in Alec Boehm moving forward. He's been awful this year. I had somebody tweet at me the other day. Man, he's really making you eat your words. I'm like, is he? He went 3 for 4 the other night. That's great. What did it raise his batting average to? 211. Like, he still has been awful this year. And I feel like you can argue he's probably been one of the worst players in Major League Baseball. And that's not to say I'm out on the guy, but the point is, like, we're allowed to be critical of these players. There's nothing that says you can be a fan and can't be critical.
Yeah, absolutely. And something you didn't even mention is like the defense of some of these players.
Terrible.
Like the on-field defense, the ability to catch a baseball. Look,
yeah,
Alec Bohm could go hit 350 for the entire month of June. He's a liability on the defensive side of the ball. Rhys Hoskins, who, again, I've been very impressed with his offense the last month. He's still one of the worst defensive first basemen in baseball. Like, he's not helping the team at first base. And as we've seen, the defense is a way bigger issue than we thought it would be. We all knew it would be bad. We knew it wouldn't be great. We didn't think it'd be the worst in the league. And it's seriously hurting Aaron Nola, Zach Eflin. It hurts Wheeler at times.
Specifically them two. Specifically Nola. Yeah. And you didn't even mention Brad Miller. And we love Brad Miller, but he's not a very good defender either. And they got him sticking out. They're sticking him out there in right field, which, God bless him. You know, he just wants to play. He's not a right fielder. We saw him with a horrendous play against the Rays where he missed the cutoff man by a mile and gifted him an extra run. But his bat is so good. You know what I mean? Like, but there's too many guys on this team that are like that. Like, oh, well, their offense can be pretty good, but they can't play any defense. There's just too many of those guys. I mean, we just named 3 of them right there. I still believe in Bohm's hit tool. Hoskins has a pretty good hit tool as well, and Miller can hit the ball. None of those guys can play defense.
Yeah, we were talking about it off the air before we started recording. Outside of JT, who's the unquestioned best defensive catcher in baseball by a pretty wide margin, and Odubel, who's been serviceable in center field. Nothing special, but he's been serviceable. No one else in the starting lineup can play defense, Kevin. Like, nobody.
Yeah. We were saying how it's sad that Odubel's probably their best defender outside of JT, and he's not anything spectacular. You know, like, he's nothing special out there. But that's how bad they've been that he looks good out there. Yeah, that's not to say he stinks out there, but, like, he's not a plus defender.
Yeah, he's just able to make a routine catch once in a while, which just
seems to be pretty difficult for this team. Yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. All right. So I mentioned the All-Star voting before, and I was writing a few articles on it this morning. The All-Star voting dropped. If you want to go vote, you can vote 5 times a day up through the 24th of June, just for players on the offensive side of the ball. And Kevin, we were talking, Zach Wheeler, I think, is the consensus. He's the guy who's going to be the Phillies All-Star this year. They're not getting 2. They're only going to get 1. But hypothetically, if they were to get a second All-Star, Kevin, who would your vote be?
Well, you swayed me on Rhys Hoskins. Harper's the easy one, or Real Muto, because they're the big names. But your Rhys Hoskins pitch to me, I think, kind of sold me. I think it should probably be him. What is that stat you told me that you want to share with the listeners?
Amongst qualified first basemen in the National League, Rhys Hoskins second highest OPS.
Yeah, and what is he hitting? 268, 270. He's been a run producer.
He's hitting 270, 12 home runs, 34 RBIs, 852 OPS.
Probably him. I would say him. I'm going to get a lot of backlash for this, but if he had more games, I would even argue Odubel could be the other guy on this team who you could argue could be an all-star. He hasn't. I don't think he's played enough games, but he's probably been their second best offensive player, and that's an indictment on where the Phillies are right now. more than it is saying anything about Odubel, who's been good, but that should open your eyes. That's where we are. That's where we are as a team. A guy who wasn't even on our radar is our second best offensive player at the moment. So that's why we're 3 games under 500.
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree. And the unfortunate part is JT and Bryce, through the month of May, were looking like they were both going to make it because they were both hitting over 300.
They still might anyway, because of their namesake, and the Phillies have a huge fan base.
Yeah, especially JT. JT is one of those guys where nobody in baseball argues about his status. People don't like Harper, which is why he never.
Who else is going to get in as a catcher in the Carson Kelly?
James McCann might get a lot of votes just because New York.
It's Alec Osterwell's guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no.
Just having
fun. No, yeah. So yeah, Zach Wheeler will probably be the guy. If it's not, yeah, I'd probably swing Reese. Something that's, man. So just thinking about the All-Star, I wrote a few articles in the offseason how I felt Alec Boehm was going to be a guy to get a lot of All-Star votes, and man, did I miss that one.
I don't think he would make the AAA All-Star team at this point, dude.
No, probably not. Speaking of AAA, just because you brought it up, Adam Hazley is in AAA. Today was his first day back.
Yeah, he's back. Well, we'll see how it goes because they could use him. They definitely could use him. We can get rid of the dead weight that is Matt Joyce. Can't stand that guy. He had 2 home runs in the last 3 games.
Well, my guess is they'd probably drop Jankowski back down.
Yeah. I think that I would rather them keep Jankowski, personally.
I'm indifferent. I think Hazley on the bench, if he can get back to kind of where he was.
It's an upgrade. It's an upgrade. Yes. But that said, I don't want to talk too much about Herrera here, but I saw people saying Hazley's going to come back and start in center. There's no way. Get that thought out of your mind because there's just no way. There's no way you can take his bat out of the lineup. He's solidified that spot. That's not a hole in this roster anymore. There's other holes. There's plenty of other holes.
Yeah, I mean you can look at left field as a potential hole. Greg McCutcheon hit 2 homes last night.
He comes out and hits 2 home runs the other day. We're talking about Andrew McCutcheon now. What's he up to? 205 on the year. It's unbelievable, David. What the hell happened?
Trying to pull it up real quick.
I'm gonna guess it's like right around 200.
209 on the season.
Oh, so we went up like 10 points in the last couple of days. See?
Yeah, big upgrade.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, having Hazley back gives them an option to give McCutcheon more off days. Just get him out of the field once we get to the kind of 7th, 8th inning, just because he is probably their worst defender.
He's at least their worst outfield defender.
By a margin.
Close. Speaking of Adam Hazley, we didn't get to touch on this on the last episode. I think it was right around then these comments were made. But when asked why Moniak wasn't called up to fill Roman Quinn's hole, because Roman Quinn, as hard as we are, that was tough to see him go down like that. Ruptured Achilles tendon. God, rooting for the guy, but I'm not very optimistic about his future now. It's sad to say. But when asked why they didn't go with Mickey Moniak, Joe Girardi said they see him more as a corner outfielder. I would like to get David Esser's opinion on that, since this is the number 2 Mickey Moniak podcast. According to Jack Fritz, I still think we're number 1.
I still think we're number 1 too.
Yeah, I think we're number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm indifferent. If they view him as a corner outfielder, that's fine.
He needs more pop. He needs a little more pop if he's going to play the corners.
For what it's worth, I thought he looked fine in center when he played there this season. He's definitely athletic enough. I'm on board with the idea of telling him to put on 10 pounds and get a little stronger and start driving the baseball. Because I think that's probably – I mean, he's never going to be a 300 hitter. We knew that from day one. But, if he can give you – I don't know, 20 home runs a season, 20 to 25 playing left field. Like, I'm all in.
I mean, we'll see. I'm not holding my breath that he's going to be a 25 home run guy.
I'd be a 40 home run hitter.
Yeah, I'd love it. I'd love if he could be, yeah.
So that's fine. I think additionally, what that also signals is they don't view probably anyone on the long-term solution to center field, and I think that's probably a position they are looking to get an extremely plus defender at that position from upcoming offseason. I don't know how they're going to do it. Dombrowski works in weird ways, but with Harper starting to slow down in terms of his defensive ability, with left field, the question mark, we don't know who's going to be there next year. They got to go find a center fielder who can cover a whole lot of grass, and that's not going to be Moniak. That's not Adam Hazley. That's not going to be Odubel if he's here next year. That's a position I got lasered in as they got to do something significant here, because they just need someone to help the corners out defensively.
For sure. And it doesn't have to be a guy who's a big offensive threat either. It's a guy who can hit 8th. and just be a defensive guy. It would have been nice if they would have went and got a guy like Kevin Pillar this past offseason, who could have been played out there a little bit. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know off the top of my head who's even available. This isn't the Byron Buxton year, right?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check.
I don't believe that it is. But if so, go get Byron Buxton if that's the case. I don't believe it's his year, though. This is the shortstop year.
This is the shortstop year, which is where I think we're all in agreement. The money is going to be spent. Yeah, I don't think it's the Byron Buxton year.
Yeah, that would be the guy, though.
That would be the guy.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, I don't want to go too late tonight. Yep. Still wrapping up some post-move affairs. But just looking ahead, Nat series, the Nationals are not very good at baseball.
We knew that, though, coming into the year. I mean, Bullpen Blues, we were on that.
Yeah.
They're not a good team.
So kind of a weird stretch of pitchers here. We got Wheeler, Scherzer.
I'm going to run it across the bottom, too, for our viewers.
Yeah, if you're watching with us here on YouTube, you can see it on the bottom. Scherzer, Taro, Ross, Spencer Howard on Saturday, and then TBD versus Vince Velasquez on Sunday.
We've been getting a lot of these. What's up with all these TBDs, man? Like, how do we not know who's throwing?
We're trying to run an official podcast here. We keep putting up
This has been like 3 or 4 episodes in a row we've had a TBD.
Yeah. Something we didn't even talk about was Vince Velasquez. He finally got rocked against Cincinnati. We knew it was coming.
You were all over that one, David.
I was all over that. I knew it was happening.
You were all over that one.
Honestly, look, here's the thing. As bad as the Phillies have looked, they're better than the Nationals. They should win this series. I don't know about a sweep, but they should win this series. The only thing that brother, we can use a sweep every time they play.
Yeah, we could use a sweep this weekend.
Kevin, the only thing I want to ask you about, and that just kind of confused me, is with so many off days, they had 3 off days this week. I'm sorry, 2 off days this week. They got another 2 off days next week. This looked like a good scenario to maybe drop to a 4-man rotation and not have Vince Velasquez pitch, and they didn't do it.
Well, Why? It's the Phillies, man. Are we like? Everybody seems to know more than them for whatever reason. And they're the ones that are in charge. This is not the first time that we've been able to sit here and be like, what the hell are you doing? The IL is a great example. They have not been able to utilize that this year. They don't seem to really know what they're doing, David. They really don't seem to know. They don't seem to have a plan. You're absolutely right. And now we're going to have Juan Soto hit a 500-foot home run off of Vince Velasquez right up on the Ashburn Alley this weekend.
Yeah, and look.
But that's going to be the only run he allows because we're going 7 strong.
He's going 7 strong. You know, I've still been supportive of Joe Girardi. I don't think he's been great. I don't even think he's been good this year, but I don't think he's the main problem with the team. I think
I've lost some faith in him, though.
I've
certainly lost some confidence in him. Yeah.
And again, this is a scenario where I feel like the Phillies are almost trying to galaxy brain everybody and outsmart everybody. Where they're like, "Oh, but look, Vince Velasquez is gonna turn it around." I'm like, "Look, he's not. He's done." Like, I'd be okay with taking him out of the rotation now permanently. Like, I'm okay with that. I've seen enough, and maybe that's being too harsh, but looking at some of his more advanced numbers, it wasn't hard to tell that his newfound production was not sustainable. And if he costs us a game on Sunday, that is either, getting us a sweep or getting us a series win, assuming we win one of the first 2 games, it's like, what are we doing here? He doesn't need to pitch today.
I wish I had an answer for you. I really do. I have no idea. I don't know why they do a lot of the things they do. It's like for the Office fans when Michael Scott asked Toby, why are you the way that you are? That's how I feel about the Phillies.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up a lot of our complaints this episode.
Why are we doing this? It doesn't make any sense.
Why are you the way that you are? All right, Kevin, was there any final takes you wanted to get to this evening?
No, it's just nice to get back on the mic, man. Let's go win a damn series, please. Like, I don't know what else to say, David. They're 21 and 29, is it? 22 and 29 since starting 4-0. I mean, that's a pretty good stretch of bad baseball. I would love to see that come back a little bit. We were close a few times to getting back over 500, and they just can't get there. So hopefully that 17-run game can light a spark. I'm not counting on it, though.
Neither am I, but you never know. Again, I say it every time. Hopefully we're back here on Sunday or Monday recapping a fun little sweep. But again, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We really do appreciate the support. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Our Twitter and our Facebook page will be linked down below. And again, if you guys haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel already, please do check it out. Again, Kevin does so much great work with the overlays, with the interfaces. He's got cool stats and topics popping up. If you are here watching with us, thank you. We appreciate that as well. With that said, we are the Bullpen Blues Podcast. We will catch you on a couple of days.
Go Phils.